For this week's list, we want to take a break from ranking things and spend some time appreciating the beauty in the details, pointing out some of the subtle ways films speak to us in these little moments you might have otherwise missed. These are 5 unranked, brilliant little moments in great films. Cinema is a distinctly active visual medium. Where novels have the ability to dedicate pages of their story to the internal and the complex, cinema is forced to find a way to show it happening. So, one of the things we really wanted to highlight with this list is how clever filmmakers have found ways to visualize the unvisual, how films manage to reach beyond the surface, how they render the internal external in a clear and understandable way. And what gave us this idea was a tiny little moment from Ang Lee's Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. When the Green Destiny sword is stolen by a masked thief and the thief is tracked back to Governor Yu's estate, Shu Lien sets out to quietly investigate the governor's household, including his suspicious daughter, Jen. Now, Shu Lien has already fought the thief, and she's already noticed the thief's particular martial arts skills. Then we get this sequence, and something important happens. Without saying a single word, we get to watch Shu Lien realize that Jin is a gifted martial artist and possibly the thief. In just a few simple shots, Ang Lee has rendered realization visual. Now, this doesn't happen in a vacuum. He's already established Shu Lien's suspicion, but let's unpack this brief moment and how it works. After establishing the scene, he cuts to a close-up of the brush tip, and what starts as a rather ordinary static shot lingers longer than you might expect, devoting extra time to gliding along with the brushstroke. This extra time cues us to mark the beauty and rhythm of the writing and pay a little closer attention. The film cuts to the top of the brush and Jin's hand holding it, 2 long close-ups of different parts of the same object in succession, which would be a relatively unusual coincidence in a well-made film. Of course, it's not a coincidence. A well-placed close-up doesn't just show us an arbitrary detail, it shows us a specific one. And in a place where we might not ordinarily expect it, the close-up insists upon itself. It asks us to consider why we're watching this close-up, giving an ordinary object extraordinary importance. Not only that, but this second shot specifically excludes the brush. We're focusing on a handle and how it is held, its movement, its precision, separate from its use as a writing instrument. With this amount of time dedicated to it, it's hard for the audience not to start making connections. Finally, to complete the sequence, we cut to a medium close-up of Shu Lien, shifting her eyes from the brush to Jin, revealing the previous shot to be a POV. This extra importance we've given to the brush tip and the brush handle, that wasn't just us. We can conclude that the importance with which we regarded that object is the same importance with which Shu Lien did. And in 3 simple shots, we see that Shu Lien is paying extra special attention to the way Jin holds her brush and, with a little inference, has realized that Jin knows how to wield a sword. Of course, as an added bonus, and if anyone hasn't picked up on it yet, check out what Shu Lien says next.
这语写起来真相近，我看你转手腕，书法剑法道理好像是相通的。
What she's really saying here is, I now know you know how to use a sword. And from the look on Jin's face, we're not the only ones who pick up on it. Now, while we're talking realization, Crouching Tigers reminds us of another one that's even more technical and precise. Because while there's no denying that the wonderful human performances of Michelle Yeoh and Ziyi Zhang help us along, could a film show us realization in the mind of a character who has no emotion at all? And it obviously can, as seen in the lip-reading scene from 2001: A Space Odyssey. When Bowman and Poole go into an insulated pod to talk about their concerns over their artificially intelligent computer system HAL without it overhearing, things don't quite go as planned.
You know, another thing just occurred to me. Well, as far as I know, no 9,000 computers have been disconnected.
Well, no 9,000 computers ever found up before.
That's not what I mean. Well, I'm not so sure what he'd think about it.
First, the setup. The 2 astronauts talk privately about their concerns about HAL, and traditionally, they would be the focal point of this shot. But the drop-dead center deep focus framing of HAL, along with their constant looks towards him, keep us ominously shifting our focus to him throughout the entire conversation, an unblinking and ever-present threat. And then we cut a close-up on HAL. The sound is dead silence, eerie silence, and there's something odd about this. At first, it seems like we're getting this close-up off of the astronaut's reference to him.
Well, I'm not so sure what he'd think about it.
But if we were still operating operating out of their perspective, we would expect to still hear their voices in the background, as if this was their POV. But we don't, and we soon realize it isn't. We've shifted perspectives to Hal's point of view, which immediately signals to us that something else is going on. And when the shot cuts again, we see what? Hal is doing something. From his POV, we see that he's following the entire conversation, and no, we can't hear it, but the ultra-tight framing on their mouths tells us that he's focusing on their lips. It's an unusual composition. It's not how normal people experience a conversation, either in real life or cinematically. And this traditional breach lets us know that something different is going on, which allows us to infer that he's reading their lips. Imagine this shot if it were just a close-up, panning back and forth between their entire faces. We would read it an entirely different way. It might seem like Hal was struggling and failing to follow the conversation, helplessly looking back and forth. But by singling in on exactly what matters, their lips, we catch the real meaning. Next, we want to take a look at Inglorious Basterds' pub scene. When Lieutenant Hickox goes to a German tavern to meet with an undercover Bridget von Hammersmark, the Gestapo Major Dieter Hellstrom becomes suspicious of his accent and invites himself over to investigate. And while Hickox manages to explain away the accent, something else happens to give him away.
Erik hat eine Flasche 33 Jahre alten Whisky aus dem schottischen Hochland. Was sagen Sie, meine Herrschaften?
Das ist sehr freundlich, Sturmbannführer.
Erik, der 33er! Und frische Gläser! Wir wollen ja nicht, dass Sie den 33er hier mit Ihrem Gesöfter verseuchen.
Wie viele Gläser? 5.
Für mich nicht. Ich mag Scotch, Scotch mag mich nicht.
Ich auch nicht, ich bleib beim Shampoos.
3 Gläser.
Sometimes it's helpful to think of every shot as a close-up, even the mediums, even the two shots, even the wides. That's because a director truly in control of his medium is trying to show you exactly what he wants you to see at any given moment. Nothing more, nothing less. If you're supposed to pay attention to just one thing, exclude everything else. If you want to connect two things, put them together in a frame. If you want to look at a big picture, you put it all in the frame. In this way, a two-shot is a close-up of a relationship, and a wide shot is a close-up of an entire room, and a close-up is a close-up of, well, the close-up. So how does that play out here? Well, it primarily hinges on one single shot, this one. Breaking this moment down into plain English as we come to understand it, Major Hellstrom notices Lieutenant Hickox's distinctly English gesture and realizes he is not a German after all. Instead of breaking it into 3 different shots like Lee and Kubrick, Tarantino goes for it in one. The shot begins as a close-up of his fingers holding up 3, and then turns into an over-the-shoulder on Hellstrom as he looks between Hickox's fingers and his face, bringing the conversation to a dead stop. Notice how this one shot starts with Hellstrom's dramatic head snap. His attention shifts rapidly and obviously, letting us know that something important has happened. Note also that Tarantino's over-the-shoulder here provides us actual information about what Hickox is doing by being wide and in focus enough to read, as opposed to the over-the-shoulder earlier in the scene that provides far less information. This keeps us thinking about the dramatic relationship between the two men as opposed to just Hellstrom. We are also cued into the shift in the nature of the scene by the immediate rhythmic and sonic change. What was previously a scene of snappy back and forth dialogue
Wie viele Gläser?
5. Für mich nicht. Ich mag Scotch, Scotch mag mich nicht.
turns into one of silence. All we can hear are glasses clinking, water pouring, and a low murmur in the background. While Tarantino's directing choices here are certainly more efficient than our previous examples, we're not sure they're clear enough to sufficiently convey specifically that Major Hellstrom has noticed Hickox's hand gesture to any but the savviest audience members on a first viewing. While we certainly notice an abrupt shift and understand immediately that the jig is up and Hellstrom is now a dangerous enemy, and this is probably all that Tarantino was going for, the how is better explained later in dialogue.
How does shooting start?
Englishman, give himself away.
How do you do that?
He ordered 3 glasses. We order 3 glasses. That's the German 3.
This verbally pings us and asks us to recall the previous shot, which we do because attention was drawn to it. But it wasn't quite enough of a breach of expectation at the time to draw us into a fully aware realization. Enough of realizations. What about another supposed unfilmable? How about a decision? In The Godfather, Michael has volunteered to kill a rival of his family and the dirty cop who works for him during an apparent truce talk. Michael has never worked for the family before, nor has he assassinated anyone. And while the plan was for him to go to the bathroom, retrieve the planted gun, and come out shooting, he doesn't. After a brilliant moment of indecision we don't have time to unpack here, but extra credit if you do it in the comments, Michael sits down into a simple over-the-shoulder shot at the table. But what once included Sollozzo's shoulder connecting him with Michael and pointing towards the dialogue between them soon becomes a clean single as the camera pushes in.
Tu padre sta male. Quandito sta meglio. Il cane ti fa un yum e mettiamo tutto a posto. Sti fissaria, siete finiti.
In keeping with the concept of every shot a close-up, by excluding the other characters at the table, the film is signaling to us that they're not important right now. The plot isn't happening with them. It's just happening with Michael. And pushing centrally inwards reinforces, intensifies, and lets us know that this is intentional. It makes our close-up more close-up. It asks us to focus more, to exclude more, to be distracted less. It invites us to heighten our focus on the subject in exclusion of the environment. This leads us inwards and to Pacino's performance. Here, it's all in the eyes. Now, I don't know if it's fair to call this performance realistic or not. It's certainly believable. No one's questioning whether Pacino is convincing us here. But does someone making a decision move their eyes like this in real life? I'm not sure. It's hard to remember seeing anyone do this, and harder still to do it yourself. What it is expressive. Watch it without his eyes and see how much of a difference it makes.
Mettiamo tutto a posto.
They signal to us inner movement. The wheels are turning. He's deciding something, and it doesn't take much effort for the audience to intuit what. And finally, there's the sound. What if we extended our concept of close-up to more than the image? What if you could do a close-up with sound too? What if you could do a sound push-in? As the camera moves closer, Sollozzo's dialogue gets quieter, almost further away. Even if it were in our language, we'd hardly be able to hear it anymore. We're no longer paying attention to the words, just like Michael isn't. And not only are the words not the point, the fact that the words aren't the point is the point. Coppola is drawing our attention to Michael's inattention. And then there's the subway sound, overwhelming the soundscape of the scene, a sonic close-up of a pot bubbling over. The unrealistic loudness and grating nature of the sound both intellectually signaling a climax to his thought and emotionally pushing us into disease. Putting it all together, you have a handful of simple signifiers of film language combining to communicate the complex notion of Michael deciding to murder two men, all without a single word of expository dialogue. So we lied a little bit when we said that film was just a visual medium. It's a sonic one too. Although people often forget sound in favor of its flashier brother image, it's often just as important, if not more so. Consider some of the low-budget found footage movies like Paranormal Activity or Blair Witch Project. The visuals are shaky and lo-fi and occasionally incomprehensible, shot for thousands, not millions of dollars. When acquired by studios for wide release, the same studios pump a couple million more into polishing the film, but it doesn't go to the picture. No, that money goes to making the sound tolerable. Given a choice between two films, one with poor picture and good sound, and the other vice versa, you'll find most gravitating towards the better sounding film. So for our last little featurette, we want to look at how sound can bypass the logical, the intellectual, and, as we hinted at with The Godfather, communicate with us on a visceral and emotional level. To paraphrase famous sound editor Walter Murch, while visuals tend to knock on our front door and get our attention, sound sneaks in through the back and acts on us without our knowledge. And one of the most visceral examples of this we can remember happens in 127 Hours, when, after 5 agonizing days of being trapped under a boulder, Aaron Ralston finally cuts through his arm. How does a film communicate intense pain? Sure, you can show someone else experiencing it and count on our empathy to fill in the blanks, but there's a limit to the discomfort that our mirror neurons can create. So first, watch the moment when Aaron cuts through his arm without sound. Visuals only. Kind of mediocre, right? We know he's in pain, but we can't quite experience it with him. Now, give it a watch with sound. It's much different, isn't it? Your reaction probably ranged from mild shock to actual anxiety to significant physical discomfort, chills, wincing, and turning away from a sound. Our bodies are bizarrely hardwired to respond viscerally to different sounds. From the anxiety that comes with the inaudible sub-bass rumble to the spine-chilling response to nails on a chalkboard, sounds seem to speak more to our emotions than to our intellects. While Crouching Tiger's concepts take time for us to understand, Aaron Ralston's pain is instant because sounds don't communicate concepts and symbols so much as they communicate feelings and moods. Consider 2001's eerie silence, Inglorious Basterds' tense clinking, The Godfather's roaring subway, and now 127 Hours' jarring electric nerve shock. We don't watch them and think to ourselves, this silence is eerie now, which means something bad is afoot. Because we don't have to. We intuit it directly, which, when combined with the logical communication of a series of images, makes up one hell of a cinematic toolkit. Do you like this kind of list? Want to see more like it? Any ideas for other lists you'd like us to do? Seriously, we're running out of ideas here. Let us know in the comments below and be sure to subscribe for more CineFix Movie Lists.